3 or 4 other questions from other topics that didn't necessarily fit under the other categories that we came up with. So we'll crack on with those, and then we'll be done. We'll have covered all of the questions. So the first question is, someone has said that their white blood cell count has been an ongoing issue for them. Presumably it's low. That's relatively commonly reported in people with lupus. So they've asked, are there any foods which can increase their white blood cell counts?
So there's not any specific foods or supplements that would directly increase your white blood cell count that are known, as it's quite a complex system, as these represent your immune cells. So it's obviously quite complicated, the link between diet and inflammation, and particularly in terms of cell numbers. What we do know is that when patients have a lupus flare or a long period of active disease, this can typically reduce the number of white blood cells. So by following a more anti-inflammatory diet, or some of the recommendations that have been discussed today, perhaps this could have an indirect effect at both reducing inflammation and therefore your chance of a flare, and therefore reduced white blood cell count. So although I can't recommend anything directly, this could be something that could be beneficial for that.
Great, thank you. Something that we had a question about is CBD oil or cannabidiol. And this is a health product that gets quite a lot of promotion. And someone's asked, is this a product that could help with inflammation in the joints?
So we don't actually have too much evidence around the use of CBD oil, particularly in lupus. What we do know about CBD oil is that the active ingredient in it, which is THC, is an anti-inflammatory molecule. So in the same way, kind of Eleni mentioned about turmeric and about taking turmeric supplements, and turmeric is also anti-inflammatory. So yes, it can be beneficial. Definitely in rheumatoid arthritis, there has been a study that has shown that it helps patients with rheumatoid arthritis with their pain. But in lupus in particular, we don't have too much evidence. This is one thing that I would recommend if you want to try it. I don't think that there's a detriment to it, but like Eleni said, we're not saying to expect a magical solution and resolution of your symptoms from CBD oil.
Plus, I would like to add something here, that CBD oil is suspected to interact with specific medications such as antidepressants or anticonvulsants or opioids, paracetamol, alcohol, I believe. So if you're receiving one of these drugs, maybe you should, discuss it thoroughly with your GP before you integrate it, before you add it to your diet, just in case there is something there that could cause some some side effects, some unpleasant interaction.
Very good suggestion, thank you. So the next question was someone saying that their lupus is influenced by their monthly hormonal cycle, which is something that we quite commonly hear about. So what they've asked is, can any changes to their diet help with their menstrual hormones and ultimately reduce their lupus symptoms?
So we kind of covered a little bit about the menstrual hormones and some foods earlier. So the short answer is yes. Changing your diet can actually reduce some of the menstrual symptoms, and changing your diet can also possibly help reduce your lupus symptoms. So it's a bit of, generally kind of changing our gut health. So we talked once again about the gut microbiome can lead to changes in your hormones, so having more balanced hormones, and in particular in the phase leading up to your cycle, having more progesterone and less estrogen, which is what you need in this phase. And there are certain foods that, for example, can help you balance those hormones, so keeping that progesterone level high enough and keeping that estrogen level low enough. And these foods are, what we've talked about before. The leafy green vegetables, the cruciferous vegetables are very good. Again, the broccoli, the cabbage, cauliflower, at flushing estrogen out of your system, so you don't accumulate too high levels. And then progesterone kind of supporting foods are, once again, leafy greens, fish, healthy fats, as well as whole grains, complex carbohydrates. And so, yes, a balanced diet can have both of these effects.
Brilliant, thank you. And the last question that we've got is about rapeseed oil. We spoke a bit earlier about coconut oil and the various different types of oil. This person, they've asked whether rapeseed oil is on par with olive oil in the diet. So are there sort of different qualities of oils and which, are recommended above others, perhaps?
So I'd love to hear Eleni after me on this as well. But I would definitely, I'm kind of with her on what she said before, as like extra virgin olive oil to me is always going to be number one. There are numerous studies out there on the health benefits of extra virgin olive oil. When it comes to rapeseed oil, but this also applies to olive oil, it actually really depends on the quality of the oil and on its processing. So that's why we refer to extra virgin olive oil, which is usually cold pressed, because it's the way that the oil is processed that will determine, is it going to be beneficial to your health or is it actually going to be detrimental? And that is because during the manufacturing and the processing, the oil goes through a lot of heat. Sometimes it goes through some chemical changes, and that actually changes the chemical structure of the oil. That can cause free radicals, and oxidative damage, so basically cause toxins in these oils. And these oils can then become inflammatory in your body as opposed to anti-inflammatory, which is how they are when they're, simply pressed, let's say, from the olives. So rapeseed oil is a tough one here, because if you are getting that particular very rare and probably expensive rapeseed oil that is cold pressed and organic and made by kind of mechanical means, then yes, that could be beneficial for your health and it could be fine. But rapeseed oil is one of the oils that is very often manufactured, processed, and kind of used in a lot of processed foods because it's cheap. And it's a lot cheaper than olive oil. And if you are seeing it probably on an ingredient label and something you're picking up from the supermarket, that's not the kind of oil that's going to be anti-inflammatory. It's probably going to do more harm than good.
Eleni, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I believe Zia has covered everything perfectly. The only thing that I would like to say, I agree with her 100% when she said that, olive oil is definitely easier to find. It's a more sustainable solution, if you ask me. While cold-pressed rapeseed oil, it is expensive, it's hard to find. So, the best thing is the easiest thing in this case, at least. So I would say go for olive oil because it's easy to find, it's tasty, it's we have like a huge body of evidence supporting that it's healthy and it has health benefits, and it's not overly expensive or something. It's
accessible.
It's accessible, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, I want to thank each of you, Zia, Eleni, and George, for contributing to this fantastic discussion that we've been able to have, and the original presentations and question and answer session. We know that this is an incredibly important topic for our community because it is something that you have a lot more control over than you might with medications or other aspects of living with lupus. So to be able to have all of these various questions answered in this way, I think is really, really fantastic. So we are so, so grateful for your time and your effort in contributing to this. So we really hope that if you submitted your questions, or if you're just watching to hear what other people have been asking, that you've found it helpful. We hope that you will be able to use some of the information that you've gained from the presentation and from this question and answer session to perhaps make improvements to your diet. And hopefully that will also help with how you experience your lupus and improve the management of your symptoms. And if it does, then please let us know. We'd love to hear about your changes. If you've got recipe suggestions that you want to share with us and other members of the community, then please share that with us. And we really look forward to later this year putting out our new publication that was produced by Eleni and by the team at UCLH. And we hope that will be a helpful resource that you can check for any tips that you need when making changes to your diet in the future. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in our future seminars. Take care.